Hi, friends. Before we jump into this week's episode, I just wanted to give you a heads up that I recorded this in March, which is Brain Injury Awareness Month, and then spaced it and didn't actually post it during March. So you will hear me asking Taryn about um, Brain Injury Awareness Month and what she was doing for it, and she had great stuff that she was posting. So just be aware that you can go back and scroll back in her Instagram and the things that she posts back to March if you want to see more of what she's talking about. So I apologize for that, but this is still a great conversation and she shares wonderful information. So enjoy this episode. Thanks. Hi, friends. Thank you for tuning in to the Concussion Coach podcast. I'm Bethany Lewis, the Concussion Coach. I'm a neurological occupational therapist and certified life coach, and I specialize in guiding people through their concussion recovery journey. I am passionate about helping people understand their injury, speed up their recovery, and reclaim control over their life post-concussion. The purpose of this podcast is to help increase awareness of concussions and the impact they can have on a person's life, and to bring hope to people who have suffered a concussion and those who love them. I firmly believe that sharing stories and knowledge about concussions will bring important light and understanding to this misunderstood and often invisible injury. The information in this podcast is meant to bring that awareness and hope and is not meant as medical advice. The opinions shared are those of the interviewees and my own. If you are suffering with lingering concussion symptoms, I have created a concussion coaching program specifically for you. I will be your mentor to guide you through your recovery journey, offering help with understanding and managing your symptoms, setting achievable goals, and learning how to manage your own thoughts and nervous system in order to get control over your life again. If this program sounds like something that would help you or someone you love, sign up for a free consultation. In the consultation, you'll get valuable information and resources and gain hope for your future. Sign up for your free consultation at the link in the show notes or at my website, www.theconcussioncoach.com. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Concussion Coach podcast. I am so excited today to get to interview Taryn Barlow, the Well Brain SLP. Taryn Barlow is a cognitive health coach for her private virtual practice, the Well Brain. Cognitive health coaching is Taryn's creation using her skills as a speech-language pathologist, certified international health coach, certified brain injury specialist, and Amen University certified brain health professional. Taryn is passionate about supporting individuals who have sustained brain injury in balancing life, enabling them to thrive again. She has worked in healthcare in a variety of settings throughout her career, supporting cognitive healing across the medical healing journey, always dedicated to individualizing care with intentions to maximize quality of life. I'm really excited for this conversation. I think we get to thank Ali Rayum for the introduction here.
Yes, we do.
And I was so grateful because as soon as I started looking at Taryn's Instagram page, I was like, oh, we are going to get along really well. This is going to be a fun conversation. I feel like our goals and our passions are very much aligned. So I'm very excited.
I felt the same way when I was scrolling your Instagram as well.
Perfect. Yay. All right. Well, this will be really fun. So why don't we just start off with you sharing a little bit more about yourself? Tell us where you're from, what got you interested in speech language pathology, and what led you to working with people with concussions.
Yeah. So thank you for having me, first of all. Grateful for the connection made. We have several people in common. So that's amazing. I am a speech language pathologist by profession and heart. I have said that I wanted to be a speech language pathologist since 8th grade, which to say what you want to be when you're little is not common. And then to say speech language pathologist is a whole other ball of wax.
Right.
Yeah, I was always paying attention to speech. So as my name is Taryn with a T, I've been correcting people's speech since I was born. When people hear it, they hear Karen, they hear Tara, and I would respond as a little teeny thing. My name is Taryn with a T. So I've been attending to speech since I was little.
That's awesome.
And then we always got a kick out of, I am from Massachusetts. I do my very best to maintain my R's in my speech because it was often a topic of conversation in my family unit. And so again, listening to speech my whole life. And so when I got to high school, I had the opportunity to do a placement with a speech language pathologist who was also my best friend's aunt. And so fell in love even more and knew that that's where I was headed. So my undergrad at the University of Maine, was in communication sciences and disorders. And then my master's is from Worcester University, which used to be Worcester State, here in Massachusetts, in speech language pathology. So straight through.
That's amazing. Not very many people can say that they knew what they wanted to do as an eighth grader and just like went for it. That's really, really cool. And you loved it, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Just every layer kept reinforcing to me that this is what I love. And now I've just, just like life, it's kind of shaped itself in such beautiful ways.
That's so cool. I love it. I love that so much. And so how did it, where have you worked? Like you've gotten all of these different certifications, and I'm really curious to hear how, the journey along here and where concussions came in.
Yeah. So some of my first jobs, I've worked in skilled nursing. I have worked in inpatient. I've worked in acute rehab, and I've worked in inpatient. During grad school, we have to do placements, and I had the best and most amazing mentor in a school. And I looked at him at the end of it and went, yeah, this isn't for me. So my medical placements were always like where my heart was. And everywhere I went, it was in every place, in every setting, there was someone in the journey that I met that had a brain injury, that I can still recall their names. I can still recall what they look like, that had these little pivotal moments in my journey. And, in rehab, we find these people, and some people just stay in our heart differently. I just going to be honest. And the majority of those people have experienced brain injury, and we're in all these different settings in different parts of the journey. And so when I got to outpatient rehab, which was my last traditional medical setting job, the pandemic hit. And one of the things that kind of also additionally brought me to this was my oldest child, who is 11, was born with his esophagus not connected. He was born with a tracheal esophageal fistula and esophageal atresia. So his esophagus wasn't connected. And it was good thing I'm a speech pathologist.
Right.
And it was also connected to his airway. So I was doing pediatric swallowing by nature of being mom. And the advocacy for this brand new baby, so vulnerable, without language, gave me this insight into medical advocacy that I didn't want, but was such a gift. And so that's like the personal part of my journey. And because of that, during the pandemic, one of the complications he had was a collapsed lung. So during the pandemic, when we were really obviously unsure about the respiratory significance, I had to leave work and come back and be a second grade tech assistant and a preschool teacher in my home. Like so many of us, pivoted and did. And, why not have signed up for the Institute of Integrative Nutrition program right before the pandemic hit, so that we could all do virtual learning at the same time?
Everybody in the house on the computers all the time.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. We tested our bandwidth, for sure. This was kind of all like just happening, and the universe it had plans for me, and it had to put me in some very interesting positions, all very in a short amount of time.
Yes. Holy cow. So is that what kind of prompted you? Like, is this where you're leading to starting your own thing here? Like, okay, tell me more.
Yeah. So with the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, their perspective of looking at healing and wellness in a full circle. They use this beautiful model called the circle of life. And every single thing that I listened to, it was overlapping with neuro and brain injury healing. And I could weave these thoughts between my work as a speech pathologist, my research and reading articles in with IIN. And I was like, wait a minute. I wonder if there's like a cognitive coaching thing. And So I was like, let me, look and search and see. And this tailored with the fact that when I left outpatient, one of the things that I kept feeling so bad for was that clients would either be discharged because of insurance.
Yep.
Or quote unquote, according to insurance, plateau in their recovery. Or, we're like, well, now what do I do without the structured speech language pathology services? Like, I know I don't need to come every week, but like, I could really use like an occasional check-in. And I'm like, that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I created it.
Yes. Oh, there's such a need. You're right. There's like this need that needs to be filled, and that's awesome. I love that you're doing this. So tell us more about what you do as a cognitive health coach.
So for me, cognitive health coaching is this, even if I'm not doing structured speech language pathology, I do not use standardized testing. However, have bought, purchased, and put a lot of work into my speech pathology brain. And that comes with me.
That's how I say. Like, I can't turn my OT brain off when I do the coaching stuff. Like, it's there.
It's just there. And so with the awareness of cognition and word finding, executive function, problem solving, and how it aligns with, cognitive linguistic is the word that speech pathology uses, thinking language. If we can't live life without those things in some format. So cognitive health coaching for me is the speech language pathology brain with everything that now I've put in for the work of learning about what the coaching models look like. And through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition and Amen University's Brain Health Coach, it is this entire movement for understanding that brain health is the thing that you can't see. It's not a diet culture. It's not weight loss. It's not nutrition, specific to other areas. It's nutrition for the brain, socialization that helps our brain, the community for our brain, what we choose in this world, how we nourish ourselves on the plate, off the plate, and in the community that builds this foundation for brain health. Because we are working on all these other organs and we're talking about all these other organs. Ironically, they don't work without the brain.
Funny how that works, right? So interesting. So when you were doing the nutrition training, was that related to the speech? Like, what prompted you to do that? And you said that as you were listening to it, you were making all these connections. Were they explicit? Like they were saying, and this is how it affects the brain, or were you just making those connections because your speech language brain was part of this program?
Some of it was very direct and was like, this is about, brain health, and they would speak about it. And then other times I would be drawing these kind of connections to things, either clients I'd already met, people I'd work with, things that I've read. I'm a nerd. I'm an epic nerd.
This is why we're going to get along.
Learning.
Can't get enough. There's so much to know, so much to learn. Yeah.
So that's, drawing all these connections and, the idea of supporting ourselves proactively is really coming into the world after COVID. This kind of reactive response to healthcare, I'm so hopeful the pendulum is going to continue the momentum of proactive, as well as, we don't just treat the emergent condition, because the healthcare world's wonderful at that. I mean, thank goodness for the healthcare industry being able to save lives at a level that we've never seen before. But we have to have that preventative, that emergent, and that long term to look at this for the whole person, the whole lifetime. And there's just too many cracks to fall in. And I love what I see happening in the community that, not just specifically to brain injury, but I love that I feel this momentum happening in healthcare.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying, and I love that too. And I hadn't thought about it in that way and as a kind of reaction to the COVID thing, but I can see that, and I do appreciate that. There's need for change, and especially like you said, the the healthcare system is set up, thankfully, to take care of emergencies and big problems, right? But
Yep.
the preventative, I know they talk about it sometimes, but it's not like there's not a focus, as much of a focus, or like how to, and then the long
Yep.
term like follow up stuff. So I think that's a good area for coaches to come in, because we're, as coaches, we can't go in and like do the emergent care. That is what
Right.
we need. We need trained professionals for that.
Yeah.
But there you can do training and become a professional to help with the pre and post kind of stuff, which I think is where we kind of fall. So
Yeah.
yeah, so important, so important. Thank you for all of that. So I'm curious tell me how this, like, how it's gone. Like, as you've started it, what's been surprising to you, or what kind of clients are you seeing? Like, how has it progressed so far?
Well, personally, I have discovered that, the business stuff is hard.
Right? Who knew?
My brain is so speech pathology, so language, so all of that. I married a wonderful math human being who, thank goodness for his skill sets, because we are yin and yang, and we certainly balance each other. When he's like, that costs money, I'm like, oh, I can't give this away for free.
Dang it.
But my healthcare caring heart wants to.
Right. I love it. This is again so similar. My husband has a very entrepreneurial brain, and he's always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and he always was encouraging me as an OT to be an entrepreneur. I was like, I do not want to touch insurance or like the compliance. I don't want to do that. I love OT. I will go to a job and I'll do my thing and leave. That's as an OT, I love it. But now that I'm doing this coaching thing, I'm like, I never ever would have guessed or imagined that I would not only do an entrepreneurial venture and like put a business together, but love it so much. It is hard, but it's so exciting, and like it like can keep me up at night sometimes, being like, oh, I have this idea. I have this, like, it's just so surprising to me.
Same.
Yeah.
And it brings in like cognition. Like, that's the funny thing for me. Like, it is planning and problem solving and executive function, just with a business twist and not with a language twist, like I'm used to. So for me, it was, navigating startup and all of I would say I'm going to pitch this right here. Score Better Business is a free business coaching program across the United States, and you get a business coach. And I would say to my wonderful coach, I don't know what I don't know, so I don't know what to ask you. Can you tell me what to ask you?
That is a good question. Question for everything. Everybody, pay attention to that question. You can ask it all the time.
And so, things like starting the business and paperwork. And then the other thing that has been just this hilarious, beautiful, fun journey is social media. If you had told me that I would be putting out like videos and making funny, never, I call her my alter ego. She's a blast. I have to be in the right mood.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's an adventure, right? It's a lot of being in different parts of you that you didn't even realize were there sometimes.
Right. And to be encouraged in this community, working within the world of brain injury, I don't for 1 second take for granted what I possess for navigating cognition. The ability to start up a company is a cognitive undertaking. And when I see clients navigating the insurance world after brain injury, they can do hard things, and so can I. So for me to do what I'm encouraging people to do, get out, do the things that are hard, learn the things, I plan, I pace, I organize, I have systems that all aligns with cognitive health coaching. So I practice what I preach.
I love that. You're living it too. And I think as you said that, it just made me again grateful for the opportunities to do it, right? Like the fact that it's possible today with the technology that we have and like the skills that we've experienced, like been able to develop, and just all of it's such a blessing and opportunity. I am very grateful for it too. It's a good point.
It takes vulnerability and courage and this kind of try it attitude. And I encourage clients to do that all day long. So I better sit in vulnerability and humble up and learn from mistakes and try hard things.
Yeah.
And so that's when I'm hesitant, I'm always like, you know what? No, I can do hard things. And my clients are doing this all day long.
Yes. Yeah.
So
such a good point.
I honor that.
That's awesome. And I do, like, I find myself like preaching all this stuff and I'm like, okay, I make sure I apply it, like pacing, taking breaks if you need it, like taking care of yourself and being aware. It's just, there's a lot of things. So like, I have lots of good ideas for people, but can I make it happen myself? That's like, it is important to work on practicing what you preach as well. So
yeah, sometimes I'm working with a client. I'm like, oh, there's a mirror behind my camera and I'm definitely speaking to you and me. So after this call, we're both going to go do this.
Yes, exactly. I've had that same experience. That's so funny. So what are some of the common concerns that people come to you for?
Yeah. The particular clientele that I have either kind of fallen through the cracks of a traditional rehab, which I obviously can return to that whenever I want to, because I think there's massive value, or they've kind of gone beyond it and they're like, okay, now what do? I do want to return to work. I do want to go volunteer. I want to change what I'm doing. I want to be more independent in running the house again, or being a mom or a dad. I want to increase the cognitive endurance it takes to do all of those things. Mm-hmm. And they've got this like package of beautiful strategies that they've learned in rehab. And they go, okay, I know them. I've got to do them, but I need some accountability and I need some feedback to say, when I'm trying to go to the grocery store, because I'm doing it now and I'm like, that's amazing. But I'm finding that, I can only go at certain times. I'm like, oh, tell me more. And sometimes it's that engagement to say they're realizing that actually they're going during peak hours. So, maybe that wasn't like front of mind, but we can figure that out. And we say, well, let's find a quieter time. Or the planning process. Goodness, as a mom, planning what's in the refrigerator and then planning meals is two completely different cognitive tasks.
It's true. Very true.
And after brain injury, for many people, returning to those tasks is the cognitive strategies from rehab, but it's the problem solving of real life that on the fly, having a coach accessible to you, you can go, okay, I'm standing and I realize I'm standing doing X, Y, or Z. And I know that I should use this strategy, but then the dog barks or the telephone rings. These are all real life things. And I am having a hard time coming back to task or, real life.
Yeah.
The real life stuff.
Yeah. And how, just curious while we're on this topic, what do you say to someone in that specific situation? How do they come?
I love finding out, first of all, like what motivates them. Like if you are in the middle of cooking dinner and it's returning to task or there's a distraction, sometimes even just reminding yourself, I'm really looking forward to dinner tonight with my family, because that's something that nourishes you to sit down with your family and, provide. Although you never know who's going to eat what and when, but, sitting with the family for dinner is your motivation. That's your understanding of why you're standing in this spot, being challenged in the kitchen, trying to organize the groceries and meal plan for the week. Your why is what you keep coming back to in that particular situation. So it's going back to attention.
Love it.
Many people, their attention is their why. And in cognition, attention comes before problem solving, reasoning, executive function. So if we attend to our why, the next step on the ladder kind of opens up for us to say, like, we've got a purpose and here's how we're going to do it.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Thank you. I'm curious, are most of your clients people who've experienced a concussion specifically, or other kinds of brain injury? Or is it kind of everything?
So I have worked with a variety of people. I'm going to say that, a lot of my clients are between the ages of like 25 and 60. And it is people who are looking to kind of redefine life after brain injury, which can be concussion, aneurysm, stroke. I would say those are my three primary, but my experience as a speech pathologist had me working within all of neuro. But in particular, it is as the medical community defines it, that mild to moderate TBI community that often falls in the cracks of that kind of traditional model that really needs that extra support that I originally created the Well Brain to fill the gap for.
Awesome. So I'm curious, how does your program work? Is it like a monthly thing, or what does it?
Yeah, I always meet with clients or potential clients the first time free, a free initial consult, because in this model as well of mild to moderate brain injury, there's a huge cost that people experience, cost loss. They try therapy, they are struggling to find the right providers. So I take an initial consult for free because I need both them and myself to know that we can make progress. Mm-hmm. I can't take people's money. Now, this is where, the balance between the speech pathologist and the entrepreneurial money managing husband comes in, right? Yes, that's my time, but it's my time because I want to make sure I provide value. And I always speak into that initial communication, like, what are your goals? What are your intentions? What are your stuck points? And can you see working with me? And can I see working with you? Because it always made me, one of the challenges in the world of rehab is, as a speech pathologist, I was expected to treat anyone 3 to 100. And that is a jack of all trade. And there is massive gifts in that. The personality that I have, I want to be, instead of a jack of all trades, I want to be like focused, because I want to be really good and really confident that I am doing the best and providing the best that I possibly can. It was hard for me to sometimes treat people in the clinic and stuff that I knew I wasn't the best speech pathologist for them. I know that in my heart. And I was working my tail off to do my very best. But ethically, I was like, I know, this coworker from this clinic is amazing with this, and I'm not. So by tailoring this to exactly what I love, exactly what I'm passionate about, I pleasure read brain books. I mean,
right. So awesome. Yes, that is awesome. And such an opportunity, as you're doing your own thing, to be able to tailor it to the people that that you'll be able to help the most and do that. That's awesome.
So then we move into a 6-month program. I do a 6-month program because one of my big observations in the world of brain injury is that we can do a really great job of zooming in on recovery, but I also want to zoom out. I have done and have a presentation that's called like the seasons of brain injury recovery, that looks at the brain injury recovery journey from a seasonal standpoint, because there are seasonal trends. When you work within this community long enough, the same topics show up in spring, in fall, in winter, and they cycle, interestingly, every year. And so not only are these people good at looking at recovery in a week, because that's where it has to start at first. Mm-hmm. Then they say, look at this progress. Look at what I'm doing in a month. Look at what I'm doing in 3 months, 6 months. And if they can look at this yearly view, I know at the beginning of every winter, when I'm preparing to clear snow before I go do errands, that is a cognitive and physical load that's different than when I go do errands during the summer. Mm. And so how you budget your cognition and your emotional and physical and cognitive energy is different even at the seasonal level. So this 6-month program allows me to cross seasons. We get through typically 2 seasons together, and we meet bi-weekly, and communication in between sessions is whatever aligns for the person. Some people are video messages, some people are email or text. The speech pathologist in me is very flexible with communication. And we look at this 6-month program, and I call it the Well-Brain Method of Hope. H stands for healing, O stands for organization, P stands for problem solving, and E is evolution, because I really don't want my clients to need me forever, which I joke makes me a really bad business owner.
Working yourself out of a job every time.
I want to work myself out of a job, which I think is healthcare.
Yes, yes.
I would love people to confidently navigate brain injury healing and instead check back in with me and celebrate that they've, gone on their first vacation after brain injury and traveled across time zones. That's a cognitive load. Or welcomed their first grandchild and are dealing with the sensory experiences of a newborn with confidence and grace.
Love it. That is so beautiful. And I think that is such an important thing to like, I love that kind of extended and check-ins and all of that is so, so good. And is it one-on-one or do you have a group thing?
It is always one-on-one. I am curious. I'm going to speak it out loud. I am curious what the group model could look like. Again, I'm going to do brave things. I'm curious what that will be and if that's something that I'm going to be offering soon. I have a technical glitch where the program I use doesn't let me have groups. That's like
something to work on the back end.
Yes, exactly. There's that back end business work again.
Yes.
But yeah, I am looking to grow and expand because this isn't work for me.
It's not work.
It's not work.
Fun. This is like
it's passion. It fills me. It's joyful. It's challenging to me in all the right ways.
That's exactly how I feel about it. I love that.
It has longevity.
Yes. And it's making a difference. And that's what makes it so exciting. I think, yes, that's awesome. Yeah, I know. I'll like get off of a coaching call and just be like, my husband's name is Thane. I'm like, Thane, I love this so much. It just fills me. It's so good. And there's such a need. And there's such a need across everywhere. That's why I'm like, there's no like, I'm not afraid to bring people on who are doing the exact same thing as me because everybody needs to know about this stuff. And it's so good to have opportunities and like know of resources we can refer to each other. Like, I just feel like there's so much need and so much goodness that can be put out there. So
yeah, our initial communication was like, I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing. And like, let's support each other, because how an OT and how a speech pathologist looks at brain injury recovery, both of those are gifts.
Yeah.
Because what we superpower combined is what brain injury deserves, this really big healing picture.
Yeah. So good. I love it. So let's see, I'd love for you to just share some of the tips that you like to share with people. Like, I want this to be really valuable for people listening. What are your favorite tools and strategies to use that help your clients in the different things that they're struggling with?
Yeah. It's been really fun to bring in things from each of my certifications or degrees that have stuck around. And it's also fun to be adding new ones. So within speech language pathology, way back when, there's this cognitive ladder that I have been using and talking about through my career. And it is looking at cognition from orientation as the bottom rung of a ladder. And we know early in people's recovery, we need to know where we are, who we are, the time. And, when people say like, why did you ask me the date again? I'm like, sorry. I remember getting yelled at in inpatient. Like, I know who I am. I know who the president is, and I know what the date is. Can we move on?
But people don't. And that's the thing. This is why we
Yes. Yeah. And then with that, after orientation comes attention. And attention is so is attention a deep topic.
Yes.
And many times we know after experiencing brain injury, attention is a very big challenge. And from that, you need to be able to stand on this rung of attention on the ladder and look at memory. because to be able to remember, you have to attend.
Yep.
And then from there, you go on that memory rung and you've got problem solving, and then you've got executive function. And then the top of this cognitive ladder is metacognition, thinking about thinking.
Mm-hmm.
The irony of all of this is we developed those things naturally through, life. At first you were a tiny little baby and you are just attending to the world. You start to learn who you are, where you are. As an adult who experiences brain injury, this ladder was already intact. Now, the life you've built goes up and down this ladder all day long. You wake up every morning, you're thinking about the date, what you have planned, you're recalling things in memory that you did yesterday, you have coming up. You are problem solving for an upcoming appointment, and you are managing and navigating executive function. So you do this all day long. The problem with brain injury is those rungs are not always as stable and as intact and nailed in. And you're climbing this ladder all day long, up and down. You're attending, you're remembering, you're problem solving, you're metacognition, you're up and down. And you're standing on these rungs that are less firm. You can do it, but boy, stepping over a broken ladder rung is more work. So this idea within speech pathology of this cognitive hierarchy is so fun to teach people, because all of a sudden they're like, that's why I have neurofatigue. Mm. And I'm like, yep, this is giving you the language for understanding that from the minute your eyes open in the morning to all that you do in your day, you've climbed up and down and halfway into the top of this ladder. And by the end of the day, maybe one of those rungs is like hanging by a thread. And neurofatigue is real. So watching people have that aha moment is so cool, because it gives them the language for understanding and defining what this experience feels like, especially with neurofatigue and in particular, that brain tired. So from speech pathology, that's my favorite thing that's lasted since grad school. And it's just adapted. The Institute of Integrative Nutrition offered a circle of life, and it has these 12 little pie sections that look at life, health, family, social, creative, joy, home environment, nutrition. I'm going to miss some because 12 of them are a memory task. Right. That circle of life has been so fun to put the brain into. Whatever your focus is, that circle of life, the point of the circle is to feel a sense of fulfillment in each of the 12 categories. I've seen some very uncircular circles of life as people reflect early in their brain injury journey about how they feel about they're less fulfilled with health. Well, that makes sense. Maybe spirituality. This has really shaken their spiritual foundation. Family, relationships. Okay, yeah, friendships changed. And the goal of this circle is this idea of expanding how you view your contentment in each of these areas. And originally, early in brain injury, it makes sense why focusing on health is so important. But so many people need to look at that view of brain injury in this big life view. Why joy feeds health? Why creativity helps the home environment? In this circle, watching people kind of move, they place their dot in each category based, if it's feeling less fulfilled, the dot is in the center. We're closer to the center. And in their healing journey, the goal is to move that dot and how they feel fulfilled in each of the categories outwards. And it's amazing to me how someone who is back at home, maybe rehab is ended, they're re-engaging in, home management. The idea of how to creatively organize the home for the brain moves the needle on how much they can do in the home. Putting the bowls in a place you don't have to bend over and experience dizziness.
Yes.
Creativity.
Right. So interesting. Cool. So all of these things are related, and we're working on each of them to try to maximize how we feel in each of the categories. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. And to feel fulfilled again. Because it is a perceptual thing. There's no data. It's why it's individual. There's no, everyone should be at the midway point 2 years after sustaining brain injury. There's no data. This is perception. And perception is so big in the healing of brain injury, and how you view your healing journey is either expansive or restrictive.
Yeah.
So it's been fun to see people's circles grow. I don't have data at all. It's not data driven at all, but people light up when I show them their first circle compared to their last one. And it's such a cool moment. So that's like a new tool. And I'm always someone that when someone wants to learn about how things work, through Amen University, I did they were wonderful about teaching more about the parts of the brain, very specific to like neuro. Sometimes people just want to know how areas of the brain work and where they bonked or where their bleed was and how that impacts things, because hopping into a neurologist appointment and having a certain amount of time that's restricted by the, appointment time doesn't give a chance to like talk about parts of the brain in the depth that some people want it. Now, that's not everybody, but
yeah.
So learning and having some great graphics to show people, because some the different models of learning show up and how to support people too. So I've taken tools from everything, and it's just been fun to bring them together. And I know there's more tools out there for me.
Yeah, right. There's so many things. Do you have any, like from the nutrition aspect, I'm curious, what kind of nutritional tips do you give people or suggestions?
Yeah, because my background is not strong in nutrition, I often refer to my nutrition colleagues, but the basics of awareness for eating to fuel your brain after brain injury, because your brain is hungry. It is the awareness that the processed food doesn't do your brain justice. And sometimes just kind of those like the basics and then the referrals get people started. Sometimes it's bringing people awareness. They'll say like, I eat X, Y, or Z for breakfast every day. And just asking the question like, well, how do you feel like at 10 o'clock? And they're like, well, I if I've done something, I'm fatigued from that event, but usually I feel pretty good, or I feel fueled, or just asking the curiosities and then knowing where my lane ends is important for me too. I love my dietitians and nutritionist people that I refer to. And I challenge them all the time to think brain. They're always like, oh, Taryn and her brains. More brain stuff, guys.
I love that. I love it. Well, thank you for those things. So tell me, we know March is Brain Injury Awareness Month. So what does that mean to you? How are you working to promote it? Like how I've seen things on your Instagram about it, which I think is awesome. Tell me, what you love about and what you're trying to do for it.
Yeah, Brain Injury Awareness Month has been so interesting as the well brain has evolved, and what I try to put out there in the world. As I said earlier, I want people to feel empowered through education. So what I put out there is a lot of educational material, especially this month. A lot of myth busting, a lot of facts, a lot of the basics of brain injury that if I can put it in someone's hand because they know these things or they're learning these things, and then they can share it with the people around them to teach them what their experience is with brain injury without having to find the words, then I've empowered them to advocate for themselves. So if me putting out the educational material is helpful, I'm game. I always ask people like, what do you want out there? And they're feverish about sending me topics. And thank goodness, because content creation is a lot of work. So I'm always grateful for their ideas.
So what are some of the things that you've put out? Like just give us an example or two of the education that your people have requested that you put words to for them.
Yeah. So this particular year in 2024, the diagnosis of brain injury is actually not considered a chronic condition. Stroke is the only form of brain injury considered chronic. So it's very interesting because the language of a chronic condition is that it requires a year or more of medical attention or care, has a functional impact on day-to-day life, has a negative impact on the way we, are fulfilled or work or make money. And brain injury is all of those things.
Yeah, and not on the list.
And it's not on the official list. So it's not listed within like the government-based models of chronic injury. So things that impact insurance, things that impact disability, things that impact reimbursement. So it's been wonderful to put together some of those resources that this defines a chronic condition. Here are the facts out there already in the world. And here's what brain injury is, which checks the boxes. And the Brain Injury Association of America, that's part of this particular new brain injury journey advocacy that they're doing, is really pushing this information that brain injury is, it can become a chronic condition. Grateful that many concussions, the majority of concussions recover, but there's plenty of people out there in the world navigating the prolonged and persistent concussion symptoms, and that becomes chronic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's considered, quote unquote, a mild brain injury. And it doesn't define how it impacts you, though.
Right. Seriously. Interesting. Okay. Well, that is good to know. And there's advocacy going on to try to change that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. And just putting the language in people's hands. I can't tell you how many times clients will tell me they didn't actually receive a diagnosis of a brain injury until X number of months after an event. So
it's crazy. So ironic, like, and it makes sense in some cases. I'm like, okay, you've had a car accident. They're checking to make sure that you don't have a brain bleed. They're making sure that your broken bones are tended to. Like the concussion or like the brain injury piece is very often overlooked or not even addressed at all. And so, yeah, it is. I can see why, like, there's the emergent thing, right? The emergency.
They're great at making sure your bones are reset. Yes. And that you're not bleeding internally.
Yes, which is important. Very, very important.
We don't go anywhere from there without that.
Right.
But getting the language in people's hands of what a brain injury is as early in their journey as possible provides them a direction for care versus this kind of squandering and this overwhelm and this spiral that can take place of, why are all these symptoms happening to me? Why am I experiencing this?
Am I making it up? Is it even real? Like, am I crazy now? There's just so much that, yes, if they don't know that it's a thing, like that they don't have language for it, then it does feel like so lost and so confusing and so surprising. So
speech pathology with naming things, right? That's what I'm doing. Like, I'm using the speech pathology to give the language to provide direction in brain injury healing. So I will keep putting that out there into the world, because someone new is going to see that language, that label, that, when people hear the word neurofatigue for the first time and they go, yeah, that's different than tired, and they have this light bulb moment, it's like this relief for them that somebody has named the thing that they've been struggling with.
Yes, it validates it, right? It's like, oh, this is real. Somebody else has experienced it or knows what I'm experiencing here. It does make a difference. I was actually just talking to a client yesterday who had listened to the podcast episode that I did with Dr. Spangler about mental health following a concussion. And she talks about grief, like that people often experience grief. And my client was like, nobody has said that word in relation to this for me. And it just clicked. She was like, I felt it like you said, it gives a direction. It's like, okay, I know what it is. Now I can do something about it. Whereas otherwise it's just this like nebulous emotion or experience that we're having that we don't know what to do with. So it is very valuable to name it and have a place to go with it. So,
and in full circle moment, the business owner in me asking my business coach, I don't know what I don't know.
Right.
Tell me what to ask. That's exactly the same model. And it's so cool to be able to use my experience, my knowledge, the challenges with my son, building a business, speech pathology, and bring it to that same space of, I see that you don't know what you don't know right now.
Yes.
Let me help you. Let me give you the language. Let me encourage you. Let me honor that journey, because so many of these people slip through the cracks, are feeling like, the struggle isn't real because they're not validated that the struggle is real after brain injury.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
That's
So passionate about it.
exactly. I feel like that's kind of one of. I was talking to somebody on a consult once, and he was like, "I feel like I need a spiritual guide on my journey here." Like I was like, "Yes, I will be a guide for you on this concussion recovery journey because you don't know what you don't know, and there's so much that's out there, and there's so many resources." Anyway, it's just it's a passion thing.
Yeah, well, both of I love that. I know that this is an audio recording, but if people can see our faces, like both of us are so lit up and passionate, and it's what brought us together today because it's definitely a mutual energy.
It's so true. I love it. So one of the things that I love to ask people, especially people who've worked with someone dealing with this for a long time, is what have you seen has been helpful, or what advice do you have for people who are caregiving and loving and supporting someone who is dealing with a brain injury? How can they best do that? What advice do you have?
First of all, you are also going through a brain injury. It didn't happen to you. It happened around you, next to you, to your loved one, to your child, to your whatever the connection is, your friend. So you're also experiencing brain injury. So what you experience is valid, is real, is hard, has peaks and valleys, and you deserve the language and the support too. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Being able to, one of the big things that I really love to share about, because I think it's super important. As a caregiver, you're invited into these spaces to support your loved one. And everything you're trying to do, good, bad, or otherwise, is usually coming from your heart. It's coming from a good place in helping. The least support necessary is key to their recovery and your health.
I like that. Yes.
And that requires communication, because what the least support looks like after brain injury can vary from the morning to the night, from week to week, from appointment to appointment. If you're sitting in a PCP appointment and it's just generic labs and a follow-up, and it's maybe not a high demand appointment, what they need of you in that appointment might be to sit quietly and note take, or maybe you're just the driver. In a appointment where there's been multiple scans and blood work, and you've been at the hospital for 6 hours, and it is a very dense appointment, what they need from you may look different. So the least support necessary is what's good for them in their healing, and is also what's good for you in your healing.
I love the way that you've encapsulated that. I think that's so wise and valuable information for people, because it speaks to, not overburdening, like not overdoing it as the caregiver and like burning yourself out, but also allowing the person, like not enabling, quote unquote, the person. Like you want to support them and help them, but not coddle them. Like you want them to improve, and improvement happens through, like, that growth happens through discomfort and pushing. So, but I like the way you're saying, because you're not like saying go push them. You're saying provide the least support that they need. So like support them in their needs, but allow them to grow and push themselves. I really love the way that you said that.
Least support necessary is a beautiful thing. Allie Rayum, who connected us. She and I do a presentation, effective communication. And in the particular area of support person, we acknowledge that least support necessary. And I've said in rooms, like, I love the way that you're supporting your boyfriend in this appointment, but I would really love to hear from him. A caregiver can also say, excuse me, provider, I really need you to talk to him or her about this. I'll provide information if they need me to. So everybody's kind of in this space trying to do the best they can, coming from a good place, but honoring each person's part of the journey is such a finite communication and dance. It just needs to be renegotiated all the time.
Right. So, well, and do you have any tips or suggestions on how the person with the brain injury can let their loved one know how much they need?
Yeah. Going into, I'm going to use an example. All right. So you've got this appointment and it's tomorrow. You need to speak tomorrow at this appointment, I know you're driving me in. You need to talk through the details. Can you drop me off at the door? I'll wait you. Like talk through the plan and really hash out what expectations are. What are their expectations for the appointment? Because they helped you book it. The caregiver maybe helped you book it or is involved and needs to know what are their expectations from that appointment. Because maybe they have a really great question that you as the survivor weren't thinking of. As the survivor, you need to state your expectations, say the things out loud so they're not left unspoken. And that's honoring boundaries, that's honoring expectations. If the caregiver knows that you have one particular focus from the appointment and towards the end of it, maybe you've forgotten that one thing, they can say, we talked about that you were curious about X. And you go, oh, yeah. But they didn't ask for you.
Yes. Yeah.
You've really got to talk it out to the best of your ability. And also grace, because sometimes maybe you don't have the words and it looks like you're talking too much. From either person, by the way. And then being like, oh, yep, I am. Sometimes you need to receive that little feedback and know that it's coming from, again, everybody's working on the one intention of trying to heal, get better, get the information. Your intentions are the same. You're going to step on each other's toes. You're going to miscommunicate. You're going to over communicate and kind of having this dance and humor in between. And you can't plan for everything.
You can't plan for everything. And you can make the best laid plans here. You can talk about it. And then the next day you can wake up and just have a massive headache and just be like, I'm sorry, I just need you to walk me through this. Hold my hand the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay too.
Absolutely. And, having that backup plan. And as you do more things together, you kind of find that dance. And it becomes more nuanced and the questions become shorter or the expectations are clearer. So having the communication is the best case scenario. Hard because you don't want to hurt each other's feelings, but ironically, you're both working towards the same thing.
Yeah.
In most of the cases.
Yeah. And it can be hard too, because sometimes, the emotional component, right? Somebody may not feel like talking or having that conversation. Eggshells can be a thing that you feel like you need to walk on sometimes, but
and we didn't dive into word finding or emotional lability or other things that, can be structurally impacted in brain injury. And those are real variables too. I need you to tell me that word that I can't forget this time, but I don't want you to tell me 10 minutes later because I've got it. I mean, that's the difference, right? In word finding, somebody may want help 1 minute and not the next.
Yeah. So many things to be aware of and just it is such a complex and complicated thing that people are navigating and just trying their best. So I think that's important to remember too. I like that you point out. We're on the same team. It's just hard sometimes.
It's just hard. I love inviting significant others, care partners into appointments too, because sometimes the intermediary of saying like, okay, so they stepped on your toes and this is why, there's some grace in having someone in between a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's, again, communication, speech pathology. They're adjacent.
I love it. So are there any other things that you feel very passionate about that we need to make sure that we discuss? Anything about concussions or tips that you want to make sure we get out there that we haven't covered yet?
Don't stop seeking the team that you deserve. In brain injury awareness, I know if you go into an office building and you ask for an accountant, not all accountants are created equal. If you go into a medical building and you ask for a neurologist, not all neurologists are created equal. You are in a room full of 100 people you went to high school with. You are not good friends with all of them. So there's this belief that when you're, put in an appointment, that's it. This is the person. Whether it be that you've outgrown them and they don't have any other suggestions for you, and you can honor that and say, thank you so much for what you've done for me. I am looking for someone to push me further. Do you know a colleague who does what you do at the next level? If the person isn't humble enough to receive that, that's on them. That's not on you. Go into support groups, Go into brain injury spaces and ask these things out loud. There are team members that 100 people refer to and it didn't work out for you for whatever reason. That's okay. There are more providers. Keep seeking them, building your team, speaking what you need. Brain injury awareness, education, treatment. It's particularly in concussion, it's in its infancy.
Yeah.
I mean, in my career, I have never discussed concussions to discussing concussions.
Yeah.
And having it be part of, speech pathology education now. It wasn't when I went to school. That's not that long ago. I mean, I'm going to say that out loud. It's not that long ago.
Me too.
So we're still learning.
Yeah.
We're still learning.
I was going through, somehow I managed my head. This is like one of my husband's biggest pet peeves is that I've actually gotten rid of most of them, but I still have some notes from school.
You have your grad school notes, don't you?
My grad school notes. He's
I do too.
So many times, and you never look at them. But I did look at them the other day. I don't remember why, but I was like going through something, and I found a little handout on TBI and concussions, and I was like, oh, hey, I did learn about this at one point, but it was probably like 10 minutes of one lecture in my entire education. So yep. It is, yeah, it's in its infancy. We're working on getting it out there. And I love that you brought up, don't stop looking, seek it. There's stuff out there. And the more people are looking for it, the more demand that is shown, the more people are going to start being like, yes. Oh yeah, we should start supplying this. And we're trying, but there's a lot of needs still. So finding those support groups, finding those resources, putting yourself out there, and not just because you're not crazy. You've had a concussion. There is help out there. And I've been so excited and pleased to see this growing. I see making connections and seeing what other people are doing and putting out there. There is good quality information out there, but it's not easily accessible. I mean, it's there and people want you to find it, but there's not enough out there. So you do have to.
And you know what I really love about concussion in particular, because we all in this community are seeing this literally evolve around us, and information come out around us. This community, I have found the providers to be seeking each other as well, like this. Mm-hmm. We're all out there going, well, who else is doing the lane next to me that crosses a little bit, still diverges a little, but who's doing this so that if I don't fit with this client, I can send them to somewhere and not, sorry, I don't know, have a great day.
Right.
This group in particular has been wonderful. The providers are actually reaching out to each other, I think, differently than I've seen before. And maybe it is a little bit more about our accessibility with virtual care and how we've had to reach out to each other in a different way. But this community of providers, we speak each other's name. And I really hope and pray that continues, because what that does is it allows the clients and patients to get better care. It's not a competition. Yeah. I'm here wanting anyone and everyone to do better. And if that isn't with me, I want to be with you. I want it to be with just so many other people in the community. I want the support to come from somewhere. I don't want people to squander.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have, one more point on something that you said earlier that I really loved was, you're not I've heard this concept, you're not for everybody, which is helpful as a business owner. It's okay, I'm not for everybody, but also as a patient, not everybody is for you. So if one, like you said, if one provider isn't, they were great for somebody else, they're not meshing with you, it's okay. You can find, keep looking. So I love that point. But also, do you have recommendations or what resources do you like to refer people to? And also, let's hear yours too. But are there, if people were looking, where would you send them?
It really is so individual. So what I have done, one of the things I've loved most about business, when I was working in outpatient, and I would go patient to patient to patient to patient to patient to patient, back to back to back to back, and then be noting forever. This has allowed me to put in times on my calendar, like podcasts, calling other providers, emailing other providers. So as somebody talks about something and I get this thing oh, that is my friend. I get these oh, I know somebody in here. Let me ask them this question. I am part of a collaborative unconventional collaborative with a bunch of providers, and actually in Utah, one of the
Really?
yes, Danielle Kempix is one of the co-founders, and she's in Utah. And it is a group of female providers that are having conversations to better patient care. I've got this client that's got this going on, and like 8 different professions are collaborating on questions to ask, things to do, who does what. This is a Taryn thing. This is a Danielle thing. She's one of my resources for hormones. That sort of collaboration is happening, and it's been a gift that in private practice I can build in time to do that.
Yeah,
which makes me a better provider.
Awesome. So what is that? Do you want to share that and we can put it in the
unconventional collaborative. Absolutely.
That's the name of it.
That's the name of it. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a collection of providers. Cool. So this is for my provider friends. I love challenging. They're always like, oh, it's Taryn with her brain question again. But they love it. They love it and they hate it because I'm bringing in brain, or they're bringing in nutrition or hormones or fertility, because fertility after brain injury. So we're collaborating in a really open way.
Is it each
other better?
Is it focused on brain injury specifically?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
No, it is all in every. You never know what's coming into the collaborative.
That's exciting. That's awesome. Awesome. Well, tell us how people can find you if they want to get more information from you, if they want to work with you. Where do they go? So
the wellbrainslp.com. That's me. That's my website. I am having fun on Instagram, being brave and courageous and putting myself out there in social media as Taryn_the Wellbrain. There are, like I said, because of the speech pathology background, email, Instagram, website, however you want to feel good about reaching out, I'll reach back out. One of my questions is usually, how do you want to communicate? Because I know sometimes screen time is hard. Yeah. So if it's audio message, cool, we'll do that. Yeah, you can find me on any of those places. And I look forward to seeing who shows up, because I really do believe I'm meant to support the people that I get the opportunity to support. Yes. I love that perspective. And I think that's something that I love to share with people, or like offer them as a thought they can try on is, you're going to be led to the right people, the right experiences, the right opportunities at the right time. And so I like the flip of that. Like, we will be able to be led to the people who we can help the most to. So yeah, beautiful thing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. It was so good to meet you and to get to share what you do and your passion for this, and for all the tips and tricks that you shared as well. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. And thank you so much, Bethany, for inviting me. I think we just became besties. Yeah. So now we're stuck with each other, and I'm good with that. Awesome. Making brain injury and concussion care just in a holistic way is exactly what the world deserves. So amen. Amen to that. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad you listened in today. I hope you have gained some helpful insights and inspiration regarding dealing with and recovering from concussions. My goal is to create more awareness and education about concussions and the fact that there is so much that can be done to improve life after someone has had one. Help me spread the message by liking, commenting, rating, and subscribing to this podcast, and share it with others who would benefit from hearing it. There are more resources available on my website. And again, if you or someone you love would benefit from concussion coaching, sign up for a free consultation using the link in the show notes or at my website, www.theconcussioncoach.com. Thank you. See you next time, and take good care of that amazing brain of yours.